Who was Michael Myers and why did he become such a notorious killer? A question that has haunted horror fans for decades. Our story begins in the quiet suburban town of Haddonfield, Illinois, where a young boy named Michael Myers lived a seemingly ordinary life. But beneath the mundane facade, a monster was brewing. The perfect veneer of suburban life could not contain the darkness within Michael. On a chilling Halloween night, when the rest of the world was indulging in harmless scares, 6-year-old Michael committed his first act of real terror. In a shocking twist of events, he brutally murdered his older sister. A moment of horror that would forever cast a shadow on the festive spirit of Halloween in Haddonfield. This was not a childish outburst or a random act of violence. It was a calculated, cold-blooded murder carried out with a kitchen knife by a boy barely out of his kindergarten years. This gruesome event sent shockwaves through the small town. The innocence of a child was replaced by the cold stare of a killer. The Myers family home, once filled with laughter and life, was now the scene of a heinous crime, forever tainted with the blood of an innocent girl. In the aftermath, young Michael was sent to Smith's Grove Sanitarium, a psychiatric hospital. There, he came under the care of Dr. Samuel Loomis. Dr. Loomis was a man of science, but even he was unnerved by the blank, emotionless gaze of Michael Myers. He saw something in those lifeless eyes that chilled him to the bone, pure, unadulterated evil. A 6-year-old boy, a horrific murder. Thus begins the dark tale of Michael Myers. This tale is a journey into the depths of horror, a study of the embodiment of evil in an unassuming boy next door. As we delve deeper, remember, behind the mask of the monster, there is always a story. But what happens to a child who commits such a heinous act? Well, in the case of Michael Myers, he was sent to Smith's Grove Sanitarium, a facility dedicated to treating the mentally ill. Here, he was introduced to his psychiatrist, Dr. Samuel Loomis, who would play a pivotal role in his life. But Michael wasn't just another patient. His actions, his demeanor, his very presence radiated an unsettling aura that was hard to ignore. Dr. Loomis observed Michael closely, trying to make sense of the darkness that enveloped the boy. He noticed that Michael was different. He was not your typical troubled child. He was something far more sinister. The boy's icy stare, his unnerving calmness, and his complete lack of remorse for his actions were alarming. The silence that hung around Michael was not of innocence, but of a chilling indifference. As days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, Dr. Loomis's concern grew. He saw no change in Michael's demeanor, no signs of guilt or repentance. Instead, he saw a growing darkness, an escalating malevolence. The boy's eyes didn't reflect the innocence of childhood, but a void, an endless abyss of evil. It was as if Michael was not a child, but a vessel for something far more terrifying. Dr. Loomis began to understand the magnitude of the situation. This was not just a case of a troubled child. This was a brewing storm of malevolence, a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. His apprehensions were met with skepticism by his colleagues, who dismissed his warnings as mere exaggerations. They saw Michael as a quiet, withdrawn boy. But Dr. Loomis saw beyond that facade. He saw the monster that lay beneath. Dr. Loomis saw the pure evil behind the boy's eyes, an evil that was yet to unleash its full potential. Michael Myers was no ordinary child. He was a living embodiment of horror, a creature of the night, waiting for the right moment to strike, and the world was yet to witness the terror that he would unleash. What led to Michael Myers' escape from the sanitarium, you ask? Well, let's delve into that chilling night. Picture this. A storm was brewing, the winds howling like a pack of wolves, lightning cracking the sky open, and the rain pouring down like a waterfall. It was on this ominous night that Michael Myers decided to make his move. The sanitarium, Smith's Grove, was experiencing a power outage. The security was not as tight as it should have been, given the dangerous patients it housed. You see, the staff had grown complacent, believing that the high walls and barred windows were enough to keep the likes of Michael Myers contained. But they were wrong. Michael, who had been locked away for years, was not like the other patients. He was a force of nature, an entity that could not be tamed. His mind, a labyrinth of dark thoughts and impulses, was focused on one thing and one thing only: escape. And so he did. With a strength that defied comprehension, Michael overpowered a guard, the man's pleas for mercy lost amidst the cacophony of the storm. He then made his way through the labyrinthine corridors of the sanitarium, his footsteps echoing ominously. The staff, caught unawares, could only watch in horror as Michael Myers, the child who had become a monster, disappeared into the stormy night. His escape was not an act of desperation, but of determination. It was not a cry for freedom, but a declaration of intent. Michael Myers had a plan, a chilling plan, that would send shivers down the spine of anyone who dared to think about it. He was not just escaping from the sanitarium, but also from the confines of his own mind, from the shackles of his own insanity. He was on a mission that was as terrifying as it was inexplicable. Michael Myers was loose, and he had a chilling plan in mind. And this plan, my friends, would take him back to where it all began, his hometown, Haddonfield. But that's a story for another time. Why did Michael Myers target his younger sister? A question that has haunted fans of the horror genre for decades. The answer isn't straightforward, but let's delve into it. Michael's obsession with his younger sister, Laurie, was a chilling constant throughout the series. His relentless pursuit of her, even after numerous attempts on his life, was a testament to his unwavering fixation. But why was this? Why did he target his own family, his own flesh and blood? One theory suggests that Michael's murderous intent was rooted in a dark and twisted form of love. As a child, he was neglected and overlooked, his cries for attention ignored or met with harsh punishment. His older sister was his first victim, an act of violence that was perhaps a plea for attention gone horribly wrong. But Laurie, his younger sister, was different. She was a symbol of what he lacked, of what he craved: love, care, attention. And in his warped mind, he believed that by killing her, he could claim these emotions for himself. Another theory proposes that Michael's actions were driven by a twisted sense of familial duty. In his distorted reality, he may have believed he was protecting Laurie from the cruel, harsh world that had scarred him so deeply. By killing her, he was saving her. Or perhaps Michael was simply a predator that hunted his own, an apex predator at the top of the food chain, driven by primal instincts. His pursuit of Laurie was a hunt, and she was his prey. Michael Myers was a complex character, his motivations deeply rooted in his tortured past. His actions, as horrifying as they were born from a place of pain, of neglect, and of a desperate craving for something he could never truly have. Michael Myers was not just a killer, he was a predator hunting his own blood. Whether driven by love, duty, or primal instinct, his relentless pursuit of Laurie continues to chill us to the bone, reminding us of the haunting specter that is Michael Myers. Why did Michael always hide his face behind a mask? This question has haunted many, adding to the disturbing allure of the character Michael Myers. Known for his stark white mask, this accessory wasn't just an aesthetic choice, but a deep reflection of the character's persona. The mask, devoid of any expression, symbolized the absence of emotions, empathy, or remorse within Michael. It was a chilling reminder of his inhumanity, a stark contrast to the warmth and complexity that a human face ordinarily conveys. This blank facade was a canvas onto which victims and viewers could project their deepest fears, making Michael's presence even more terrifying. Why white, you might wonder? The color white is generally associated with purity and innocence. However, in Michael's case, it was a grotesque perversion of these values. The whiteness of the mask was an ironic representation of his tainted innocence, his lost childhood, and his twisted soul. The mask also added to the mystery surrounding Michael. It concealed his identity, making him an enigma, a faceless terror. This lack of identity further dehumanized him, making it easier for him to disconnect from his victims and their suffering. It made him a phantom, an unstoppable force of evil, one that could not be reasoned with or understood. Moreover, the mask was a strategic tool for Michael. It instilled fear in his victims, making them feel vulnerable and defenseless. It allowed him to blend into the shadows, to become a specter that could strike at any moment. The mask was his shield, his armor, protecting him not from physical harm, but from the exposure of his true, monstrous self. Behind the mask, Michael Myers was a faceless terror, a relentless force of evil. His masked visage became a symbol of dread, a chilling testament to the darkness that lurks beneath the surface, waiting to strike when we least expect it. Why did Michael always return to his hometown of Haddonfield? In the macabre tapestry of horror that is the story of Michael Myers, one thread consistently stands out: his inexplicable attachment to his hometown, Haddonfield. Despite the gruesome memories and chilling past, Michael always returned, turning the sleepy suburban town into a stage for his reign of terror. His hometown was more than just a place of origin for him. It was a haunting symbol of his past, a stark reminder of the night he was transformed from an innocent child into a remorseless killer. It was there that he committed his first act of violence, forever etching a mark of death on the town's history. Theories abound as to why Michael was drawn to Haddonfield like a moth to a flame. Some speculate it was the familiarity, a cruel twist of comfort in the midst of his chaotic existence. Others suggest a more sinister motive, a desire to confront and relive his past atrocities. Perhaps in his twisted mind, Michael saw Haddonfield as a macabre playground, a place where he could stalk his victims under the veil of normality, blending into the shadows of the very streets he grew up on. It was here, amid the white picket fences and quaint houses, that Michael found his victims, their lives unknowingly intertwined with his dark fate. But there's another theory, perhaps the most chilling of all. What if Haddonfield, in the warped reality of Michael Myers, represented a twisted form of home, a place where he felt he belonged amid the horror and the chaos, a place that, in his deranged perception, was as much a part of him as he was of it. Haddonfield was not just a town to Michael Myers, it was his hunting ground. The seemingly tranquil suburban landscape transformed into a nightmarish stage where the curtain of safety was violently torn away, revealing the true face of horror, that of Michael Myers, the hometown horror. Who was Michael Myers really? A mindless killer or something more? To truly understand the enigma that is Michael Myers, we must delve into the abyss of his character. His persona is a riddle wrapped in a mystery, an embodiment of pure evil with an insatiable thirst for blood and terror. Yet, his lack of a clear motive leaves us grappling with unanswered questions and a lingering sense of dread. Some see Myers as a mindless killer, an automaton programmed to kill without reason or remorse. His actions, devoid of any discernible motive, seem to support this theory. He is not driven by revenge, lust, or greed. He kills because it is in his nature, an intrinsic part of his twisted existence. Others, however, see him as an embodiment of pure evil. His apparent immortality, his ability to shrug off injuries that would kill an ordinary man, suggests a supernatural element. Is he a man or a monster? Or perhaps a blend of both? A human vessel possessed by an ancient malevolent force. A key element of Michael Myers' character is his facelessness. His mask, a blank emotionless visage, is a metaphor for his character. It reflects his lack of humanity, his absence of empathy or remorse. His refusal to show his face implies a rejection of his human identity, further enhancing his image as a remorseless killer. The enigma of Michael Myers also extends to his obsession with his hometown. Despite his killing sprees, he always returns to the place of his birth. Is it nostalgia, a twisted form of homesickness, or is it drawn to the familiar, to the place where his monstrous nature was first unleashed? Michael Myers, the faceless terror, the relentless killer, remains an enigma, a chilling reminder of the evil that lurks in the most unexpected places. His mystery is part of his allure, a factor that has kept audiences captivated for decades. And while we may never fully understand the depths of his malevolence, The enigma of Michael Myers ensures his place in the annals of horror history. So, what have we learned about Michael Myers? We've journeyed through a chilling narrative, one that began with a child named Michael Myers, whose heinous act of fratricide shattered the facade of normalcy. We've explored the cold walls of the institution where he was confined and the insights of Dr. Loomis, who saw the unfathomable darkness within Michael. We've witnessed the terror that unfurled following his escape, a relentless pursuit masked and mired in mystery as he targeted his younger sister. We've tread the haunted streets of his hometown, a place he was inexplicably drawn to, time and again. We've delved into the enigma that is Michael Myers, a man who never allowed anyone to see his face, a man whose motives remained as masked as he was. In the end, Michael Myers is a chilling testament to the darkest corners of the human psyche, a faceless terror that continues to haunt our nightmares.